Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we give you four pretty cool tech topics this week, and we'll get you on your way in about 20 minutes. Do you have any idea what I just said? I'm not sure I do either, but that's one of our stories today. And Miss Lindsay from Community Engagement, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to
Thank
be
you for
here.
being here with us. Lindsay is the glue that holds us all together and keeps me getting all my paperwork done right. So thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome, Bob.
It is awesome.
Okay.
Um, do a quick thing. Just tell them exactly what you do for us here in community engagement.
So currently I assist with getting payments processed, organizing the office, organizing schedules. Um, that's my scope for right now. We're still fleshing it out. We're going to take on more projects and have a lot of fun as the
Oh
year
yeah,
goes on.
I don't know.
Yes.
You would not believe how much fun Lindsay is behind the scenes here, folks. It is great. But we get lots of stories. We got to cover these because I got a feeling we're going to talk about some of these deep into it. Number one, did you pay attention to anything that was going on with Tesla last week?
I have not. So
Okay,
what I saw,
tell
the
me.
federal money, I
Yeah.
was like, I did not know the government was investing in this. There's a lot of things they could be investing in, but
Yeah, so in a quick nutshell, last week, Tesla decided to lay off their entire supercharger team. The supercharger network is where you can go if you have a Tesla. You can pull up, get a quick charge, get in and out, and drive across the entire country, and not have to worry about where you're going to charge anything like that. They've been so successful, they convinced all the other automakers, Ford, GM, people, to change their plugs to match the Tesla
Tesla's,
plugs.
yep.
And then he fired his whole team. And there's $28.8 million coming from the federal government as part of the grants and part of the getting people, the infrastructure bill stuff going on. And so this article here talks about what's going to actually happen with that money. Is Tesla really going to get this money, even though they just killed off that whole division? And the answer is no. The answer is the federal government doesn't actually give the individual companies money. It goes state by state. So every state gets to choose how they're going to take the money and who they're going to be giving it to. And here in Florida, for example, FPL, it is not part of this year, but FPL just put in brand new charging stations up in Coconut Creek.
Oh, nice.
As part of this. So the state of Florida is giving some of that money to FPL to install these chargers for the public to come in and use and do stuff. What do you think about that one, though?
I think it's interesting because I'm happy, one, that it's being given directly to the states and not to a private company, because I would have been very worried. But also, I think Tesla's business model of implementing new things and then stopping the quality after a while is very interesting, because the Tesla charging stations in locations north, in the northern part of the country, during the winter and even in the summer, they are not consistent with maintaining their charging stations. So there's a lot of broken ones. The wait times are very excessive. So the money they've already received from whatever states that did give them some of the money wasn't even being allotted correctly.
Yeah.
So
some of that was invest in infrastructure bill money that Tesla themselves was investing in and putting out. So for part of that, that's on them. But you're right. Remember last winter during the snowstorm up in Chicago, and all these cars that were getting stranded because they didn't have charging stations that would work in the cold.
They didn't, but even pre with government money, they were generating enough income to sustain.
Yes.
They were generating enough income to sustain before the government even decided to help with putting this proper infrastructure in place. So it's, as a company, I think they do a lot of touch and go. Like, we'll start something really nice, we'll get you to buy in, and then once people are invested, they pull back on quality, they pull back on service, they pull back on helping and longevity. So I'm very interested to see how they continue as a company moving forward. Just yeah.
They're definitely doing some shakeups there. It's going to be really interesting to see how this goes forward, going forward in this part of it. And then we have a story that is part of Lindsay's life before she came to work with us, because she worked in healthcare before us. There's another cyber attack at a U.S. healthcare network. This is not a repeat of the story from 3 weeks ago. This is a new one that attacked another healthcare agency, and this time was into patient care, which is the thing that I'm really like, how the heck can you how can you let this happen, especially after you've just seen this going on for the last 3 months with so Ascension, which is the company, it's a nonprofit organization for healthcare, which is a good version of doing a healthcare company in the United States, in my opinion, because it helps spur a little bit better growth and keep costs down in theory. But then they found out on Wednesday that they had some unusual activity. Tell me, Lindsay, what's your first thought when you see this?
Who are doing the attacks? Like, I need to know. You don't have anything else to do? There's plenty of student loan, credit card companies. Like, we the public are not mad at you want to access our records to, do whatever you want to do with them. There's student loan debt that you could wipe out, and still, if you take the student loans with you, we won't be mad at the attack. But you're literally attacking healthcare companies that you probably will benefit from if you're a US based attacker. But that was my first thing. I said, why are we attacking healthcare companies? Come on now.
Yeah.
There's banks, true banks, like banks that are wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And
and remember 2 years ago, Broward County schools got hacked. And they tried to, and they're like, we want a $1 million ransom. And it's like, do you understand how public schools work?
There's no money for that.
This is not what happened.
It wasn't a part of the budget that year.
Yeah,
you're going to keep the information you stole. You don't want it
this
back.
Is it. And so part of this problem is you may not have ever heard of Ascension. They're not part of anything in South Florida, but they've got 140 hospitals and 40 senior centers elsewhere in the country, over 19 different states.
Yep.
So between the hack of United Healthcare and this one, we are now over 90% of the population of the United States has had their healthcare hacked in some way in 2024.
Very alarming. My curiosity is the healthcare hacks.
Yeah.
What is the end goal of the hacker? Because are we holding these things? Are we holding the information?
Both. It's two different things. One is they do ransomware attacks where they will lock down machines and you will have to pay a ransom to get them unlocked. That happened to some hospitals during COVID, where they attacked individual hospitals and took over direct machines that were taking care of patients and threatened to shut off the machines if they weren't paid. Some of those got fixed. And they put in some better quality, and taking them offline because they don't need to be online to be able to do that. But in these two here, it's much more a thing of going in and trying to get patient information, not individual people like going after Bob. It's just going in to gather up as much information as they can about anyone so that they can create more false, fake profiles and identity theft and all those sorts of things.
And like I was saying, if we're selling the information, because that's the long game is here, we're stealing to sell.
Yep.
Banks hold them ransomware. Like make your hack profitable upfront. Don't play the long game. You could play the long game with our student loans. We won't be mad. We the public. If you want to steal the information and also wipe out the student loans, we won't be mad. We're just waiting for you to do the right thing here.
I think there are people out there who would be very upset if their student loan, not the students, But the other people,
The majority
yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what
I'm
you're
just
saying.
saying
I
the
that,
majority.
that's
And then this is where you have the, you see, this is where you get the upfront sales. The upfront sales would definitely be, I'm going to lock this information. If you would like to access this information,
yeah.
the healthcare system,
And
unless
seriously,
unless big
that's a
pharma
really
is
good
who you're
that's a
selling
really
to,
good point, Lindsay,
yeah,
because the idea of when something gets hacked, do you pay the ransom, or do you just say no, we're not paying the ransom and we're just going to do this on our own and we're just going forward and that's it? There is an ethical debate there that people
there's a
have,
lot of, yeah.
because should you pay the ransom to get your stuff back, or should you just shrug and say, oh, well, and just
Move
fire up your
forward.
backup servers and just let them have whatever they stole because that's the way it is, and you just move on?
I think the ethical part of it is there is none when it comes to like this type of attack.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no logic, like reasonable logic with this attack, because
Yeah.
if you're hacking to long term steal identities, you might as well do some good. Be Robin Hood. You
Yeah.
steal from the rich, give to the poor,
Unfortunately, that's
and you make
not an
yourself rich in
option
the
for
process.
many of these people. Yeah.
It's not. No, no. I'm talking about the hackers, because
No, I
the
know.
logic
Yeah.
behind the hackers doesn't.
Actually, it depends on who they are. That's kind of the issue. If they're trying to be disruptive,
Disrupt
nation state people
things.
trying to be disruptive, that's they're making different choices. Yeah.
They're making a lot of disrupt, and also these companies need to hire
Yes.
better
Hello. Exactly.
cybersecurity specialists.
Are
This
you
is,
not? Why?
and the fact that they know that they're being targeted time and time again
Yeah.
is the issue.
Yeah.
Because you could put as much safeguards in place to have like prevent attack internally, but if you do not have appropriate guards
Yeah.
to
We
protect
won't.
the information,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we
no.
won't know how they pulled this one off for a while, if ever. Sometimes we just never find out exactly how it happened. But most of the time, it's some sort of phishing attack. Somebody clicks on a wrong link, puts in their credentials in the wrong spot, and lets somebody in. And be careful.
It's a lot. Yeah, be
Yeah.
careful. If
Yeah.
you work somewhere, anywhere, be careful.
Speaking of being careful, one way that people are getting more and more dangerously close to being able to be hacked, etc., is using. And I know you're like, Bob, didn't you already cover this story? And I'm like, no, that was last year. we did this. This happened last. It was something from last year, but now this is becoming a big thing. I'm sorry. So using AI to recreate dead people. And part of that problem becomes, are you using it to recreate someone for good or for hacking purposes? What do you think about using dead people?
Very unimaginative. Also, a huge play on emotions. Um, very unimaginative. Like we have AI and we're creating people that already exist. Very unimaginative. However, I get the sentiment behind wanting to communicate with someone who's passed
Yeah.
and trying to use it as a tool for grief. However,
Yeah.
there's so much when you are grieving, you're very vulnerable, so it is going to work to your detriment. And at what point do you decide that you're done grieving and that you can let this person go in theory? Because this is an idea of what the
Excuse me for
person
that.
would say.
Yeah.
So there,
When you think about this, do you think about it as someone who you would want to listen to? Is there
no.
anyone in your past that you really want, that you've like saved a phone message from or something like that?
So I've saved phone messages from people because typically when I receive voice notes or like touching messages, typically the messages are from the person. They're tied to a moment in time and they
Yeah.
have a direct intention. So listening to AI, no, unless I'm going to go into a state of like psychosis and disassociating with reality, I know this is not a person, like, this is not a real person. This is not necessarily what the person would say to me in the moment.
Right.
They're not offering me genuine counsel, comfort, advice, commentary on social events.
Right. Because they
So
don't know.
they're very so it's a very dangerous game. I just think it's a
Yeah.
dangerous game overall.
And somebody in the chat did mention the Black Mirror episode of Be Right Back. Yeah, we're moving into the idea now that life is stranger than fiction.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think we've been here for a while, and it's only going to get stranger. So
yeah, we are making this. I talked to some people about this, and get some feelers out there. And I was surprised. One older person was like, "Well, yeah, I think my grandkids might like to be able to hear me in the future." And I was like, "Okay,
well, we currently have what is called video recordings,
yeah,
the
I know,
VHS, the CDs, the thumb
yeah,
drives, the cloud exists for a reason, so they can see you
yeah,
now as
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
exist in real life
yeah,
and communicate to them whatever milestones that they have
yeah."
yet to reach that you don't think you'll be there for. You can communicate that and leave it for
Hmm.
free. You don't even have to have an attorney protect it in a living will. You can
Yeah,
literally leave it for free and send it to them. Play when you are getting married. Play when you have your first child. Play when you graduate college. Play when you
nice.
graduate high school. It
Man, that
is
takes some
free
planning,
and
but yeah, that
current.
works well.
But so it takes a little bit of planning. But the
Yeah,
person saying they would like their grandchild to talk to them, I'm very confused as how you would know what they're saying back to you. So it defeats the purpose. You want
yeah,
to send your
there you
child a
go.
message or a grandchild a message is not the same as saying I want to talk. You
Yeah,
can't talk. It's impossible. You're gone. Your consciousness has passed on. So we
I
need
know.
to be able to like let death
Yeah.
stay where it is and
As
move forward.
always, all the links are in the show notes, and Lindsay's really digging into one of those things where when do you let the person die again? Because okay, we're done listening to Grandpa. Nobody alive remembers him. When are you going to retire that chatbot again? Kind of thing. You got to go back and listen to this. We have one story we have to hit really quick. Do you want to talk to whales?
No,
Really? See,
very
I think
real.
this is the coolest story in weeks because this is a chance to use AI for good to interpret all this language. They're recording all these sounds that sperm whales have made. Now, humpback whales are the ones who have more songs, and when you speed it up, it sounds more like a bird song. Sperm whales are the ones who do the clicking, like I did at the beginning. The 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. That's actually a letter, a sound, a component of something that they use. Multiple different sperm whales all around the planet use that same sequence to communicate something. We don't know what yet, but it's getting very, very close to figuring out.
So
Tell me.
why are we eavesdropping on the sperm whales?
Because we know they're intelligent. We know how smart these animals are. And I personally think it would be really enlightening for people to get a chance to talk to someone like that who is so radically different than us. I mean, think about how different and what you learn about when you're just talking with another person from another part of the planet and how your lives are similar but so different. Imagine if you could actually communicate with a creature, with a person that is diving so deep into the ocean where there's no light, all dealing with all these things. How do you navigate when you can't see anything and you have to do it by sound and you're talking to other whales and you're going back and forth, and it just sounds really cool to me.
It sounds cool. I think it sounds cool in theory. I think realistically, we as human we're trying to interpret a language that's not meant for us.
Yep.
And we're gonna assign meaning to this sound and this means this and this means that. We're assigning our own meaning based on what we think that their lives look like and what we think at the surface level. Because remember, we haven't even reached the bottom of the ocean yet. So we're
Yeah.
assigning sounds meanings based on what we think and what we have knowledge of and what they let us know about
Yep.
them.
Yeah. And that's
So-
that's kind of the thing too. I mean,
So
they're
that's the
down
issue.
there. Like, who in the world would be? There's no way they can live up there. There's no water up there. How could they possibly be any intelligent life up on the land?
I don't
All
think
the
they're
intelligent
concerned
life
with
has to
us.
be down here in the ocean.
I don't think they're concerned with us. I think humans like to
Well-
put themselves at the center of things. So I think they're minding their business.
This is
There's enough types of creatures in the
Yeah.
ocean
Yeah.
that the sperm whale is not impressed by us. I think they see us and they're like, oh, and they're just like,
Yeah.
"It's whatever." We are impressed with them because we're unable to fully explore their space that they inhabit. But do I think we should know? Not really, because they're enjoying
I'd
their
like
life.
to
And
know.
I wouldn't like to know. Why? Of what benefit will it be to me? Because we're assigning
I don't
our
know.
own
That's
understanding.
my whole thing. I don't know. That's
Okay,
why I want to
dolphins are
explore.
intelligent, but
I want to figure it out.
dolphins are intelligent, right?
Yeah,
And so are octopus.
we. Oh
But-
man! Oh man! Oh man!
Exactly. But they live their own lives. Like they
Yeah.
can see
Yeah.
us and acknowledge
Oh!
us.
If we could figure out a way to communicate with octopus, that would be the thing, because
But this is
they
what I'm
have
saying.
such a radically different way. They're put together so radically different than almost every other thing on this planet. It's craziness.
It's
crazy.
very interesting. I saw a documentary, like a 4-part
Yeah.
documentary on Netflix. Very interesting. However, we were just observing and they were living their lives.
Yeah.
And we needed to just continue to observe and not trying to interact. Let them be whales.
Let them have their own life.
Let them have their own life. Like humans like to interfere in too many things. I think that's my only thing. Humans like to interfere in too many things. Let them be them. And
I
let's
am
figure
one
it
of those
out.
curious people who just pokes my nose into
I
all
think you
sorts
could
of
be curious and observing. Stop trying to talk to them. Because if they wanted to
Okay.
talk to us, they would have figured it out.
I will. I'll be ready to listen when they're ready to talk. How's that?
I agree. That's a good approach. That's a very good approach. So I like that.
Thank you so much for being here, Miss Lindsay. It was
I'm happy.
always so much fun talking with you.
It was a good show. I love
Let's throw up this final slide here for anybody. If there is a story you want to see on the show or a librarian you want to see featured, Creation Station at broward.org comes to us, and we'll try and get them on for you. Go hit that subscribe button, and we'll see everybody next week.